Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, Tyvis Powell, Jason Lloyd. Plus, ba-da-da-da-da, you're loving him, Mikey McNuggets. And so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show starts now. Booyah!
And happy Friday!
Yeah,
Thank you for
let's
watching
go.
the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on WKYC Channel 3. You get the OG3 today.
Yeah.
I'm Jay Crawford. Coming up in the next 30 minutes, everything you need to know about the Cavaliers and the Magic opening round series that tips tomorrow. Bull.
I'm Adam the Bull, and if I had 100 chips to bet, where would I place my biggest bet when it comes to the Guardians? We'll explain in just a little bit. G.
I'm G. Bush, and I'm going to let you know whether or not the Browns are going to make the playoffs, and we'll tell you what Vegas thinks. McNuggets.
And I'm Mikey McNuggets. We're not just picking the Cavs Magic series, we're picking all the NBA first round series to tell you who will be advancing to round 2.
I'm excited about this year's NBA playoffs. I think particularly in the East, because only 4 games there was a 4-game spread between the 2 and the 8 that we know of.
Yeah.
That's never happened in the NBA. So as far as I'm concerned, you could throw these teams in a hopper and just start pulling them out of hats. I wouldn't be surprised of anything in the first round in the East unless the Celtics lose.
That's it. I
That's
mean, all
it.
the other 3 series are complete toss-ups. So
I
yeah,
agree.
It should be fun. As much as I yell and scream about how much I hate the regular season NBA, I love the NBA playoffs.
Yeah, they're great.
It's the biggest difference in any sport between the regular season and the playoffs.
Interesting. I've never thought about that before, but I think you're right.
And we've been down on the Cavs. Trust me.
No
We've
doubt.
been down on the Cavs, but listen, this playoff time, and there's nothing like playoff basketball. It's time for the city to get behind the team. And I guarantee you, if they win this round, everybody will be energized and fired up.
Absolutely. Yeah, you've got to win this round. Last year, remember, they came in as the 4, lost to the 5 Knicks. This time it's the Orlando Magic. And I think, Mikey, to me, the biggest X factor in this series is the health of one Donovan Mitchell. And you have some information on at least where he thinks he is coming into this series.
Donovan Mitchell was asked yesterday at his pregame press conference for media availability, put a percentage on where you're at, Donovan. How healthy are you entering this series? And this was exactly what he said to that question. I'm 100%. I'm good. I'm ready to go. So my question to you guys is, can the Cavs beat the Magic if Donovan isn't 100% healthy?
I'll give him 90%. I think they could still beat the Magic if he was 90%. To be perfectly honest, having dealt with knee issues my whole life, they don't completely just evaporate in a week.
Sure.
They don't. What you need with his injury is rest. And he has that. Between his last game and his next game will be more than a week. But I think he may have 100% for game 1. But then, and there's never back-to-backs in the playoffs, but then 2 days later on Monday, he might be 95% and so on. But I think they can still win the series if he's still at around 90%.
I mean, that's it, Jay, is how long does the series go, and does he have any setbacks along the way? It doesn't, you're right, it doesn't matter if he's 100%. It matters if he's close to 100%. If he's close to 100%, certainly, yeah. But yeah, if he has a setback and he's at 50%, the Cavs are in big trouble. Fortunately, right now, he looks like he's pretty close to 100%.
Well, listen, man, this is no time for fake ones. I mean, you got to come out here and play ball. Listen, the quicker you get this series over, and I'm not saying the Orlando Magic or a pushover, or I'm predicting a sweep, but superstars who may have nagging injuries, you know what they say to their team? Hey, let's come out and jump on these cats at the house real quick, get them down 2-0, figure out what they about game 3, and then if they lay down game 3, we got game 4. So, he's saying he's 100%. He may not be 100% the series, but the quicker you get it over, the quicker you can rest while other teams are still playing.
Agree with that.
By the way, the last time the Cavs won a playoff series without LeBron, I was just old enough to drink. I was 22 years old.
Oh, my goodness.
1993. Actually, I had not quite turned 22.
Was it against the Nets?
1993. I don't remember. I can't remember who they beat.
Oh, my goodness.
1993, last time they won a playoff series without LeBron.
That's terrifying.
I think they've only won 3 series without LeBron ever.
I think you're right.
Something like that.
Yeah,
It's a very low number.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
One of the things that I look at with this series, and this is always the discussion for every series in every sport where you play series. Which game is most important? And there's only one answer to that, and that's the next one. But even now I'll go against what I just said. In this particular series, all of the pressure is on the Cavs. They're the higher seed. They've got the better roster. They've got more experienced players. This Magic team is a bunch of kids with zero playoff experience. So I think the one thing that will be detrimental to the Cavaliers is if they lose one of the first two and go back to Orlando with Orlando having home court. That would be disastrous. They've got to start 2-0.
Yeah, but I do believe that they got more leadership than they had. That's why you got Niang. Strus was just in the finals. You got Morris. He's a guy that's going to. Those guys have a plethora of playoff experience, and those guys are going to be the guys leading in the locker room, letting them know, hey guys, this is our mentality we need to have.
Yeah, no question. Now, go
I
ahead.
couldn't agree with you more, Jay, because the Magic, kind of like the Cavs last year, are inexperienced, as you said.
Right.
Also, like the Cavs last year, the Magic were not very good on the road. They're a much better home team.
Yeah.
The Cavs this year were good both ways. They were really good on the road as opposed to the year before. So if you give the Magic confidence and let them win one of those home games, they're going to be very confident going into Game 3. Their crowd will probably be excited. But if they're down 0-2, then they finally feel some pressure. But you're right. The first two games, there's no pressure on Orlando at all.
Yeah, got to hold serve for sure. All right, now Darius Garland is another guy that we've talked about throughout this season as being a real, he's kind of a mystery player. He hasn't had the year that we thought he would. In fact, I think many would say he took a step back.
Definitely.
He says, and read this quote, Mikey. I thought this was interesting because their MO last year in the playoffs was they cowered. They got pushed around, and they disappeared. What's he saying about the playoffs going into him this year?
Well, the question was asked about, hey, you guys appeared to maybe punt on the fourth quarter against Charlotte to set up this matchup in particular, to which Darius responded, quote, "We're not ducking any smoke. Not this group. We're taking on whoever we get," which may be a little contrary to what we saw on the court last Sunday. Guys, what do you make of that comment?
The comment's ridiculous. First of all, nothing the Cavs say is going to make me believe they're tough. They got to prove it on the court. They do have, I agree with G, some of the leaders. You didn't even mention Morris, right?
No, he mentioned Morris.
Oh, you did. I'm sorry. Well, bad job out of me. These guys will bring some toughness and some credibility. But the key players on this team, they all cowered last year. And to me, Jay and I haven't really talked about this, but I hated what they did last Sunday. I hate that. I
was with you.
I think it's such a loser mentality.
It is a loser mentality.
They did cower. They said they were scared. I hated that. They got to turn that around. They got to turn around their embarrassing loss to the Knicks last year and the way this season ended. And the only way to do that is actually be tough on the court and beat up Orlando, because they should win this series.
They should.
Hey, he talked himself into it. Sometimes you got to talk yourself into it. Talk your stuff, man. The Cavs is way too soft. They walk around. We know you good guys, but when you come to the playoffs, we ain't caring about Charlotte no more. You got Orlando Magic. I don't care what nothing happened last week. Let's get into it. You guys got to come out with some fire. And I like the fact that he's saying something. If y'all need to use your quotes in the newspaper to get fired up, by all means, say whatever you need to, because you got to come out with a different mentality than you did last year.
Yeah, I always say that a lot of times I can't hear what you're saying because your actions drown them out. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I was 100% in line with you. I have such a bad taste in my mouth for two things that happened in the last 2 weeks of the season. Blowing inexcusably a 26-point third quarter lead to the Los Angeles Clippers in a game in which you basically were just waiting for the clock to expire.
Yeah.
That, to me, leaves an awful stain on who this team is. And also the deciding that, we're going to pick our opponent. Because, Bull, a lot has been made of what that says about Cleveland. But we can talk more about what it says that Cleveland thinks about Orlando.
Right, yes.
They gave the Orlando Magic motivational logs for their fire coming into the series when they pointed at them and said, we'll take you.
Right.
And that's a risky thing because Orlando's playing with house money.
So last thing with the Magic and the Cavs before we move on to the Browns, but when you guys look at the series, what is the Cavaliers' biggest advantage over the Magic?
Everything. I can't think of one thing that I would say the Magic are better at the Cavs. Cavs have a better roster. They have more experience. Maybe head coach. Maybe Orlando. I might give Orlando a slight edge over at head coach, but experience, leadership, roster, home court. It's all in the Cavs' favor. They've got to win this series.
Well, the biggest example and the biggest thing that we point to is superstars. Superstars win final games in the playoffs, not regular guys. The Cavs got Donovan Mitchell. He's better. He's the best player in the series. If you have the best player in the series, you should win that series.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. The biggest advantage is Donovan Mitchell. We're assuming he's close to 100%, and he's the only superstar. But Banchero is trending in that direction.
He's a really good
But
player.
he's not there yet, and Donovan Mitchell is the biggest star in this series. And the only time I would say that's not an advantage is if on the rest of the team there was a big advantage for the other team.
Right.
But that's not the case. It's pretty close in the other spots. So, yeah, Donovan Mitchell should be the difference. He wasn't last year against the Knicks. He didn't play well enough. He's got to play like a superstar in this series.
I agree. I think there's no excuses for the Cavs to lose this series. If they lose this series, there will be folks cleaning out their office in Independence.
That's correct.
Oh yeah.
I can't imagine that there won't be people.
Even
who
if they
lose their
win,
jobs.
they still might be cleaning their
Well,
lockers out.
that's to be determined. But I think
But
we can
definitely
say
if they lose.
definitively, if you flame out 2 years in a row,
Yeah.
that's
ya.
not going to be a good
Be
look.
tapping that key card. What's going on? What's my
One more advantage you guys missed.
Code
the Cavs,
changed.
The Cavs are a significantly better three-point shooting team than the Magic. The
That's
Magic
true.
ranked dead last
Very
in the
much
NBA.
so. And
in
what are the
three-point
what are the
attempts.
NBA playoffs?
About making shots. Also, when it comes to playoff experience, 91 games in total for the Magic. That is almost exclusively by Joe Ingles and Gary Harris. 356 playoff games of experience now for the Cleveland Cavaliers.
One question before we leave this topic. Orlando may be a little bit better defensively. Can you entertain that argument?
Yeah, they're
No,
third.
they had a better defensive rating overall.
Oh, okay. I didn't look at
they
their
were
defensive
better.
rating.
They finished
but-
the third highest defensive rating in the
Okay,
NBA.
so that would be their advantage, and the playoffs in the playoffs defense is very important.
Let's talk a little Browns, guys.
Yeah, let's talk Browns, and everybody wants to know. I love that you're going to basically cut out the drama of the regular season for us, because in the open, G. Bush said, "I'm going to tell you if the Browns are going to make the playoffs," and that's great news because you can put my mind at ease.
Fast
These
forward.
are the odds as offered by FanDuel. They're plus 146 to make the postseason. This is going to be a gauntlet in the AFC. We know that. There are 8 to 10 teams that you could say are playoff caliber teams here.
No doubt.
Do they make the playoffs?
I'd say yes, they make the playoffs. There's a couple teams in there that are just like the Browns in terms of question marks. They have the Chargers ahead of the Browns. They've lost some people. They have the Bills in front of the Browns. They've lost some people. They even have the Jets ahead of the Browns. And they got a 40-year-old quarterback coming off a Achilles heel. Now, I like the rest of their team. But there's a lot of other teams, Bull, where they're kind of in that same level. I think this is also a referendum on what they feel about the quarterback.
Yeah, I think that's a big part of it. Odds are the factors that go into odds are what they think the public's going to bet, what you believe in the quarterback, because that obviously plays a big role in that, and how good is your conference, how good is your division. The AFC North, I truly believe, could finish in any order. I think all 4 teams could finish first, second, third, and fourth.
And there's
Right?
what other division can you say that about?
None. There's none.
And the only people might say, well, wait a minute, Pittsburgh, but they've got now what's the wild card at quarterback? You don't know.
Right. Say what you want about Russell Wilson. He's way better than what they had.
Way better. And he has won.
Starting NFL middle of the road quarterback. They had no starting.
They started
quarterback.
3 quarterbacks last year and still made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right. So plus obviously with injuries. If I had to bet yes or no on the Browns making the playoffs, I'd bet yes. But I outside of Kansas City, I can't be overly confident really about probably Houston because the rest of that division is not very good. I can't be overly confident about anybody else making the playoffs because the North is so good. How can you say for sure? But I would lean slightly towards the Browns making the playoffs. But you can't be shocked if the Browns could win 9, 10 games even and not make it. That's how good the AFC is.
Yeah, this is going to. I agree with you, Bull, on the AFC North. Just in that division, there are 4 teams that you would make a strong case can be in the playoffs.
No doubt.
And that's just that division. Then you start looking around. Houston is so much better. They beat the Browns in the playoffs last year. And then you got the Chiefs. You've got the Dolphins. We haven't talked about them. The Bills. What are they going to look like?
Right. The
I would
Jets,
say
if Rodgers is right,
they're
they'll
an
be
X factor.
good.
Right. They
I
were
know
better.
the Chargers were terrible last year, and I know they don't have good receivers.
They'll be most improved team this year.
But they got a good coach and a good quarterback.
I think
I'm not going to say they're going to be, the Colts are not terrible. The Jaguars are not terrible. The only terrible team in the whole conference is probably New England, and the Raiders and Broncos are not very good. Outside of that, everyone else is at least competitive.
And I can't remember a time when you would say 13 of the 16
or at least
could make the playoffs, and you wouldn't
Yeah.
say, whoa, how did that happen?
Yeah.
So if I had to, if this was an all or nothing bet,
Yeah.
just because of the division alone, the fact that we're in a division where we already know 6 games are going to be against playoff caliber teams, I would think that it's slightly more likely that the Browns miss the playoffs than make the playoffs. Last year, if you ask why did they make the playoffs, well, I would say because of Joe Flacco. He's gone. And this year you're going to say, well, for them to make the playoffs, what has to happen? Deshaun Watson has to be Houston Deshaun.
Yeah.
And now, if he is, they're making the playoffs.
I don't
if
think he
he's
has to
not,
be,
they won't.
I don't think he has to be Houston Deshaun for them to make the playoffs.
Got to be close.
I think he has to be good for them to make the playoffs. He has to be Houston Deshaun for them to win the Super Bowl.
There will be
to make a run in the playoffs.
There will be
that's
a
fair.
group of teams that you thought were going to be good that won't be good, and we got to remember how many quarterbacks got injured last year.
That's right.
And
That's
that
always
changed-
a factor.
changed the
Everybody's down
complexion.
on Buffalo right now. I know you're way down on Buffalo. I'm never counting them out when they have Josh Allen. I don't like them as much, but I'm never going to completely count them out.
Of all the teams in this part of the offseason, now obviously we haven't seen the draft yet, but of all the teams that we talked about, I think the team whose stock fell the most, it's the Bills.
Yes.
I think the team whose stock rose the most, it's the Chargers. I think that Harbaugh is that much of a difference maker, and I think the pieces have been there. They just had terrible coaching. Terrible coaching.
I do like the Charger stock. I think the Texans stock is up too.
Well, to me, they were
are
high
very
already.
dangerous.
Yeah, they were high already. All right, we're taking a break. You've got 100 poker chips. We're going to give you 3 elements of the 24 Cleveland Guardians. How many of those 100 poker chips are you betting on the 3 elements that we're going to give you? That's after the break. Stay with us. And we welcome you back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Thanks for spending time with us on this Friday afternoon. If you like the WKYC version, check us out on YouTube. Just search Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. We do 2 hours live every day, Monday through Friday, 11 to 1. We have a lot of fun, too. All right, welcome to the UCSS poker table. Here's the way this game's going to work. We each have 100 poker chips. We're going to bet on 3 trends that the Guardians have set so far this year. Here they are. The Guardians' hot hitting, their shaky starting pitching, but their bullpen brilliance. How many of the 100 chips are you going to push into the middle of the table that these 3 trends continue?
Jay, I'm pushing the most chips on the bullpen brilliance. That's what I believe in the most right now. Now, there's been a couple of guys like Beatty and
Cade Smith,
thank you, that I don't fully buy those 2 guys. But there's been some guys like Eli Morgan, who's been not great, that I do believe in. He's dealing with an injury right now. And eventually they'll get some guys back from the injured list, too. I love Emmanuel Clase. I think he's one of the best closers in baseball. Scott Barlow's pitched better of late. I love Hunter Gaddis. Looks legit.
Oh, my God.
He's been great. So I'm all in on the bullpen. I'm at 55 of my 100 chips on the bullpen. I think it's close between the other 2. I have more faith in the offense, obviously, than I did begin the season, but I'm not fully believing that they're going to be this good. I think they need to supplement. I can't believe I'm saying this, but I am a little nervous about the starting pitching. Obviously, the Bieber injury and McKenzie looks shaky. I think Bybee will bounce back. I think eventually Gavin Williams will be good, but I don't trust Carrasco to pitch well the whole season. So ultimately, I went with 25 chips on the hitting to stay hot and 20 chips on the pitching to continue to struggle.
Wow, we're amazingly close.
Oh, really?
Amazingly close. Like you, I have full faith in the bullpen.
Yeah.
Watching yesterday's 9th inning, I've never been a comfortable fan in the 9th inning. If you look at the relievers in Indians history, when we had Jose Mesa.
Oh, my God.
And he was effective, but it was what I call nerve-wracking effective.
Chris Perez, the same.
Chris Perez, all of them through the years.
Yeah.
Doug Jones. These guys would come on and they would pour gas on the flame.
Yeah.
And even if they got, then they would sometimes get out and make the save. But it was always an adventure. Yesterday, for the first time in my fandom as a Cleveland Guardians Indians fan, I was able to say, we've got this.
No shot.
I have so much faith and confidence in Clase. Not just his results, but his stuff.
Yeah,
He's nasty.
Yeah.
And so, because of that, we've turned everything into an 8-inning game.
Yeah.
And so I'm going 50 chips in on the bullpen.
Yeah.
I'm 30 chips in on the offense continuing.
Mm-hmm.
I tend to feel pretty comfortable about it, but it's a small sample size. When we talked about this on the YouTube show today, when you pivot at a point and it's not a gradual change, this organization went from playing don't swing and miss last year to swing away, guys, back on your heels and let it fly. Mm-hmm. And they've had great success with it so far. I'm concerned that they can carry that out all the way, so I give them 30. And the starting pitching, I can't believe I'm there, but I'm only putting 20 chips in on the starting pitching, remaining shaky. I think that and this is wild, but I think it's going to end up being the Achilles heel of this team.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been the case in a very long time. I'm scared to death of Tristan McKenzie. His velocity being down frightens me, and I know typically the velocity comes from the shoulder. But it also can come from the mind.
No doubt.
If you're not pitching freely and you're not completely unafraid of another injury, that can bring your velocity down. So I think in his mind, I think he's still afraid that he could injure the elbow even more. And I'm holding my breath that he finishes the season, but I don't have hopes that he will.
I'm middle of the road. I'm going to go 40 with the bats. I'm going to go 40 with the bullpen. I think those are sustainable. I like what the new approach is at the plate. And I'm going to go 20. My last 20 chips is with the starting pitching and how that's failing. At this point, I think any day that you can see McKenzie go out there, you can see him be put on a DL or say he's done because of that elbow. So I'm going to go 40, 40, 20.
All right. Well, I think we're all pretty
There it
close
is,
on
pretty
that.
close.
One way or another, they've got the best record tied with the Yankees for the best record in the American League and barely behind the Braves for the best record in all of baseball. That makes it fun. We're taking a break. NBA playoffs are on the plate when we come back. We're picking all 8 opening round series when we come back. Welcome back to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Time to whip through our NBA playoff picks. We've got 8 series. We've got to fly. So, Mikey, let's get to it.
We'll start with the one here happening in Cleveland, Magic versus the Cavs. And, Bull, you're the only one that isn't picking the Cavs.
Yeah, I'm just really down on the way they played at the end of the season. I know the playoffs is a new season. I just feel like the Magic are too similar to the team they lost to last year in the Knicks in terms of their defensive intensity. I'm worried.
I hope you're wrong.
I hope I'm wrong,
Man,
too.
I hope you're wrong. What's the next series?
Next one, Boston versus the 8 seed. We don't know who it is yet, but everyone here is picking the Boston Celtics. Let's move on, Steve, to the next series, which is the Knicks versus the 76ers. Bull, you're taking the favorite, J&G, taking the upset.
Yeah, you guys are both picking the upset. I like the Knicks. I'm very high on them. I know they're without Julius Randle, but I think Jalen Brunson might be the most underrated player in the NBA.
They got the best player in the series. Embiid is going to step it up. He's been in the playoffs. I like Maxey. I'm going to take the Sixers.
Yeah, Embiid's playing for legacy at this point. I like the Sixers.
Next up, Bucks Pacers. Giannis isn't playing to start, so you're taking the Pacers in the upset.
Yeah, man, I'm gonna go ahead with the Pacers. I think the Pacers, they got what it takes to be playoff basketball. Halliburton, Giannis is up in there. Give me the Pacers.
All right. Wow.
Thunder versus the 8 seed, just like in the Eastern Conference. The
Clean
three
sweep.
of you are taking the Thunder to beat whoever comes out of the playing game tonight. Nuggets, Lakers in the next, and all 3 of you guys are taking the Nuggets.
Smoked.
I got to tell you, of all of the series I picked, I gave this one more second thought than any of the other ones. Because I just hate kicking dirt on LeBron. I know who he is and what he does, but this Denver team is phenomenal.
Supporting cast ain't there for the Lakers.
No, that's true. All right.
In the 3-6 matchup in the West, we have the Suns versus the Timberwolves, and 2 of the 3 are taking the upset Suns. Jay, why the Suns?
Well, Actually, this one was easy for me. I don't believe in the Timberwolves. I think that their season was fool's gold. They put a lot of emphasis on doing well in the regular season, and I think that's what young teams do, and it's a mistake to do that.
They are the Hawks of a couple years ago, only in the Western Conference.
Exactly.
Last series, the 4-5 in the West, the Clippers and the Mavericks. Bull, you're taking the Clippers.
Yeah, I'm rooting against Kyrie Irving, so I want the Clippers to
Oh, that's great. All right, enjoy the playoffs. Game 1 of the Cavs and the Magic is tomorrow at 1 o'clock, Rocket Mortgage Fieldhouse. We'll be back on Monday to recap all of it. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Peace.